any black blood. I'm 62. Did I say that? And I still don't know what black blood is. The blood had to be ordered from Birmingham, which is 90 miles away from here, and sent to, excuse me, is Billy still here?
Yes, you want to get you some water?
Yeah, can you get me some water out? Can you get me some water out the hotel? Thank you. And kill the person that gave me those pistachios. The blood had to be ordered in Birmingham and sent to Selma on the bus. By the time the bus got here, my dad picked the blood up at the bus station. It was too late. My mom was gone and my baby brother in her tummy too. My grandmother came home to bury her and stayed to rear us along with my dad. Grandmother had what some people who live above the Mason-Dixon line have. I call that Mason-Dixon mentality. Soon as they get in what they know as the South, things change. They get a different feeling. They feel like all the races are here. We got all the crazy white people in the world. We know that's not true now. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. But they have that mentality. Their whole persona changes when they get here. Grandma had that too. She could not believe that things have not changed in 35 years. Same old racist society, same people in charge, same segregation, laws of segregation. Well, she started talking to some of the women in the community, and they introduced her to someone named Amelia Boynton. Mrs. Boynton and her husband Sam were our farm extension agents. They formed an organization in the early 1930s called the Dallas County Voters League, where they set about trying to register African Americans in this community to vote. They worked tirelessly. Grandmother started taking us to the meetings with her. Boring. We had to sit at the feet of those history makers while they strategized on how they was gonna get this thing called freedom. And I thought they were the dumbest old folks I had ever seen. Because Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves, I already knew that. They didn't know that. Because they kept talking about getting freedom. There's a drugstore. I love you. Thank you. There's a drugstore about 2 blocks down called Carter's Drugstore on Broad Street. Carter's had a lunch counter. And I wanted to sit at that lunch counter, but my grandmother said I couldn't. She said, colored children can't sit at the counter. Colored children. That's what they used to call us, colored. It stopped me from wanting to sit at that counter. Every time I pass by, I see those white kids sitting there licking those ice cream cones, and I'd wish it was me. Well, one day I was standing in front of the store with my grandmother as she talked to one of her friends. And I was doing what I always do, just like you girl, people did that with me. To see those white kids sitting there. And I was still wishing it was me. Well, my grandmother noticed that day. And she leaned over my shoulder and she pointed to the counter and she said, when we get our freedom, you can do that too. I became a freedom fighter that day. I understood instantly that there was a different freedom. Grandma was going for the good freedom, the one that would allow me to sit at that counter. I started going down to First Baptist Church with my older sisters to the meetings of SNCC. They tried to teach me the principles of nonviolence. I flunked. That's not funny. Let me explain that. The only principle that I could really grasp at that age was the one where they say turn the other cheek. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Somebody hit you right there. I lived in the projects. I grew up in the hood. In the hood. If I came out that door and somebody hit me on this side, and I did like this, my whole day would be this. Now I've come a long, long way. Violence in any form is wrong. Shouldn't even be in a civilized society, period. You're gonna have to find a way to get rid of it, okay? It needs to go with this generation, period, before your babies get here, okay? Okay? No, it's yes, ma'am. My hand was itching. No, because I ain't gonna like y'all after so long. Anyway, when they would come out of the church to march, I like that. I like that action, right? When they come out the church, I hop in the line like I've been training all day long. We march to the courthouse that's right around the corner here. That's where we registered to vote. Now they see us coming and lock the doors. They knew we weren't old enough to vote. We would go to the courthouse steps, nice shoes, and kneel on the steps. Someone would say a prayer to the Creator, asking him to lift the hearts of those evil men so our parents could vote for us until we could vote for ourselves. You know, that got old quicker. They started rolling school buses up in front of the courthouse and loading us up on those buses and taking us to jail. They would put us in cells that were supposed to hold 1 to 2 people. I've never been in a cell with less than 30 people all jammed up in it. If you were lucky or unlucky enough to get the bed, you didn't sit there long. The mattress was gone. It was just that metal frame, and it had a lip right in front to keep that mattress from sliding off. That made your thighs so uncomfortable. The toilet, right there. Right there. No privacy. With that many people in a room that size, you don't want to be nowhere near that toilet. Our food, dry beans. For those of you who cook beans, I have seen them being cooked. You know you can't just open that pack. You got to pick out stuff you can't, don't you? Nobody did that to us. You know, the rocks, the dirt, the insects. I think they took pride in bringing you a plate with a big old rock sitting up on you. You wouldn't have eaten it, would you? Girl, by that third day, you'd have been so darn hungry, you'd have pushed that rock aside. Don't play. You'd have pushed that rock aside and hope you couldn't identify what you were crunching on. Those things were done to break our spirits, but we were as low as we could go. They let us out. We eat a good meal, take a bath. And then I find out I still could not sit at that counter. I'd be right back up at the church, up in their faces again. Oftentimes going back to jail the same day. By the time I was 11 years old, I had been to jail 13 documented times. And oh no, I was not the youngest. They were lots of them younger than me, period. Now in December of 1964, a man named Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., y'all know him? You don't know him, you just know of it. You heard that big bass over there? Say it again. Yeah. I think I'm in love again. Was invited to Selma by the Dallas County Voters League. The president of the league at that time was Frederick Douglass Reese. Dr. Reese wrote the letter inviting him here. He didn't wake up one morning and say, I'm going to Selma. He was invited. He was invited to speak on Emancipation Proclamation Day, January 1st. Dr. King already knew of the work that the League had been doing for 30-some odd years. He already knew of the work that SNCC had been doing. They asked his help. You know, when he accepted his Nobel Peace Prize, he told everybody that my hometown, this little hick town, would be the headquarters for the battle for voting rights in this country. Things really heated up there. Dr. King brought in his lieutenants, and he stationed them in counties all around us. So massive voter registration drives were going in around in all the counties around us. He sent James Orange. Y'all heard of him?
Yes.
Leader. I sure miss him. They sent Reverend Orange to Perry County. In Perry County, Reverend Orange managed to organize students. It was easy to organize students. Their parents worked for the same people who were trying to keep us from getting the right to vote. Approximately 600 of them marched on their courthouse and were arrested. Reverend Orange himself told me that a state trooper came into the area where he was housed about 3 o'clock with a rope. On the end of that rope was tied a noose. Reverend Orange said he threw it over the top of his cell where that noose hung in his face all day long. He had to sit there knowing maybe his last day on earth. That evening they let the children out. They kept Reverend Orange. A mass meeting was being held at a church approximately 2 blocks from the jail. The children ran into the church and disrupted this meeting. They said, you have to do something, you have to do something now. They're gonna kill him. The people in the church decided they would go down to that jail, walk around it all night long, and hope that their mere presence would save this man's life. When they left the church, they were attacked and brutally beaten by law enforcement officers. A young man named Jimmie Lee Jackson emerged from the church just in time to see a state trooper beating his grandfather, his 82-year-old grandfather. Jimmie pleaded with that trooper, please don't beat my grandfather, he's an old man. Take him to jail if he's done something wrong. Jimmie's mother saw them beating her father too, and she ran over. As she approached that trooper, drew back that billy club to hit her, Jimmie put up his hand to stop him, and he shot him. Jimmie died 8 days later here in Selma at Good Samaritan Hospital. It was then that the leaders decided to walk from Selma to Montgomery. One to protest this young man's senseless death. The other to demand the right to vote from our then Governor George Wallace. On March 7th, we gathered on the playground of George Washington Carver Homes and led by John Lewis and Hosea Williams, came down Broad Street and over this bridge and met a wall of policemen. When that line stopped, John Lewis asked permission to pass. The policeman said there would be no march between Selma and Montgomery. You have 2 minutes to disperse and go back to your church. In 1 minute and 15 seconds, they attacked. It was awful. I had never experienced violence. Marching was fun to me. I liked the spirit of the movement, the songs, the chants, being with my friends, not going to school. I liked all of that. When I crested that bridge and I saw that line of policemen lined all the way across all 4 lanes and on the service road, I knew we were not going to Montgomery. I was too far back to hear or see what was being said or done, but I didn't need to. I was a warrior. I knew the procedure. I knew what was supposed to happen. I knew when John Lewis and Hosea Williams got to that line of policemen, one of them would ask for permission to pass. It would be denied. John and Hosea would go down on their knees, and we would follow suit. One of them would say a prayer, and after prayer, they would stand up, turn around, and lead us back to where we started from. And when we get there, we either plan a new strategy or just regroup and come right back. As I'm standing there waiting for the front to go down, I hear gunshots and screams. I think they're killing the people down front. Before we could turn and run, it was too late. They came in from both sides, the front and the back, and they were just beating people. Old, young, black, white, male, female, didn't matter. They were just beating people. You know what I remember the most? The screams. People were screaming and screaming and screaming. People lay everywhere, not moving, bleeding. Laying there as if they were dead and you couldn't stop to help them or you'd be beaten too. The gunshots I heard, nobody was shooting bullets on that bridge that day. It was the tear gas canisters being shot into the crowd. Tear gas burns your eyes, gets in your lungs. You can't breathe, you can't see. You panic. Oftentimes you run right back to the same people you're running from. It was horrible. It seemed like it lasted an eternity. If you could outrun those men on foot, you couldn't outrun those men on horses. The poor horses were afraid. They were running them right up into the crowd. The horses were rearing and kicking. Bones were being broken. People were being trampled. The last thing that I remember seeing on that bridge that day is this horse and this lady, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if the horse just ran over her or did the man on the horse hit her. I don't know. I do know as I stand here, just shy of 51 years later,